The UK Prime Minister will hold a press conference in the next few hours amid speculation he'll impose a national lockdown in England next week. And in Scotland, a ban on all travel in and out of England has been announced. President Trump and Joe Biden have been campaigning in the Midwest ahead of Tuesday's US election. Their final push comes as America reports 9 million coronavirus cases. Emergency teams in the Turkish city of Izmir have rescued a mother and 3 of her children from the wreckage of an apartment building brought down by Friday's earthquake. They were pulled out more than 18 hours after the quake. And the Oscar-winning British actor Sean Connery, who was best known for playing James Bond, has died. He was 90. His starring role as the suave, ruthless secret agent in the 007 movies brought him global stardom.
We're exclusively reporting Walmart has pulled all guns and ammunition from the sales floors of U.S. stores. It says the move is a precaution driven by recent social unrest. ExxonMobil says it expects to cut up to 15% of its global workforce over the next year. This includes 1,900 jobs in the U.S. Exxon and Chevron both report earnings today as the industry faces challenges during the pandemic. We're reporting e-cigarette maker Juul has cut the company's valuation to about $10 billion. That's down from $38 billion 2 years ago, when tobacco giant Altria took a 35% stake. Juul's sales and market share have fallen recently as the company faced regulatory clampdowns, lawsuits, and investigations into whether it marketed vaping products to teens. The company has denied this. And investors will be watching the latest consumer spending and personal income figures due out this morning.
Newsline, I'm Ross Mihara in Tokyo with the stories at this hour. We begin with an update on the major earthquake that struck in the Aegean Sea on Friday. The Turkish and Greek governments say the magnitude 7.0 quake and ensuing tsunami have left at least 38 people dead. Rescuers are racing against time to find survivors. This footage shows a 16-year-old girl being saved. It was taken in Izmir, Turkey's worst-hit province.
Tamam, hiç korkma. Korkacağın hiçbir şey yok. Elimi tutar mısın? Ver, tabii ki tutarım. Tabii ki.
The girl was rescued 17 hours after the quake struck. She was pulled from the rubble of an 8-story building that collapsed. Teams have been searching for survivors at 9 sites in Izmir. 17 buildings collapsed there. Local media outlets report about 180 people are still missing. The U.S. Geological Survey says what are believed to be aftershocks with a magnitude of 4 or higher have occurred at least 6 times in the sea near the epicenter. The Turkish government has been urging people to stay away from buildings that are likely to crumble. Now to the latest on the coronavirus in Japan. Health authorities are calling on the public to stay vigilant as the number of new cases creeps up. The daily figure dropped after hitting a midsummer peak, but it's been climbing again in recent weeks. Authorities reported 877 new cases on Saturday, the most in over 2 months. In total, more than 102,000 people have been infected and over 1,700 have died. Tokyo has been the main hotspot. It reported 215 cases on Saturday, but the number of seriously ill patients in the capital remains low, with only around 30 on Saturday in the city of 14 million. Away from the capital, the northernmost prefecture of Hokkaido recorded its highest daily figure on Saturday. Officials have linked over 300 recent cases to a nightlife district in the city of Sapporo. Meanwhile, the virus has been casting a shadow over the usual glitz and glamour of the movie world. A major film festival in Tokyo has been scaled back this year, cutting things like the actors' red carpet walk.
If we have to coexist with the virus, we'll work hard to find ways to continue this festival for the sake of the industry.
In contrast to previous years, there will only be one award at the event, a prize voted on by the public. People dressed in costumes have taken to the streets in Tokyo to celebrate Halloween, but there are fewer revelers than usual. That is likely because officials urge celebrants to stay away this year due to the coronavirus pandemic. Large crowds of young people and foreigners dressed in costumes usually gather in the Shibuya district on Halloween night.
I come here every year, but I was surprised because there are few people this year.
The Tokyo Metropolitan Police Department has deployed its public relations unit this year to regulate the flow of people. The unit is called the DJ Police. Officers at the famous Scramble Crossing have been urging people to keep moving. Last year, the police arrested 9 people in the district. Those detained were suspected of attacking an officer and committing other criminal offenses. A representative of a shopping street in Shibuya said he feels bad that people were told to stay away from the area, but he added he hopes revelers will understand that officials only wanted to prevent the virus from spreading. Moviegoers in Taiwan are flocking to see the Japanese film Kimetsu no Yaiba, or Demon Slayer. The smash hit debuted there on Friday. Crowds of people gathered at movie theaters in Taipei to see the animated feature. A cinema complex showing the movie on multiple screens said long lines had formed before each showing. Many of the fans came dressed as their favorite characters.
I came after work, so I changed my clothes here. I'm impressed by the relationship between the brother and sister in the story.
The film is more exciting than the comic books. I was moved by the climax.
The movie has broken box office records in Japan. It earned about $95 million during its first 10 days in theaters. Many media outlets have described that as a historic feat. The Demon Slayer is becoming increasingly popular around the world. The Shueisha company published the original hit comic book series. The firm says the comics have been translated into 14 languages, including English, Chinese, French, and Spanish. Aniplex is the film's distributor. The company says the movie will debut in North America next year. It says it also plans to release the film in other regions. As the clock ticks down to the U.S. election on Tuesday, President Donald Trump and Democratic challenger Joe Biden have been campaigning hard in Midwestern battleground states. On Friday, Trump held rallies in 3 states, including Wisconsin, where coronavirus infections have been surging. He said a safe vaccine would be available in the next few weeks. He also pledged to get the economy back on track.
It is a choice between a Trump super boom or a Biden depression. I will deliver jobs, 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 and the greatest economy in the history of our country. That's going to be next year.
Biden visited Wisconsin as well. He told supporters the president had given up the fight to contain the pandemic.
This week, Wisconsin, like other states, set a new record for daily cases. The thing that bothers me the most was a president who gave up. He can't afford 4 more years of Donald Trump.
The contest is set to get even more intense over its final 4 days. Trump's due at another 17 rallies, mainly in swing states, while Biden is turning to the star power of former President Barack Obama for a joint event in Michigan on Saturday. Next to the long-disputed Nagorno-Karabakh region, it remains uncertain whether a ceasefire has taken effect after the latest talks between the foreign ministers of Azerbaijan and Armenia. The peace talks were held in Switzerland on Friday. Also attending were representatives from the United States, Russia, and France. A joint statement issued afterwards said that Azerbaijan and Armenia had agreed not to deliberately target civilians and private facilities. They also agreed to exchange the remains of soldiers left on the battlefield, as well as provide lists of prisoners of war. But the two sides failed to clearly agree on a ceasefire.
Neither France nor Russia are doing anything. We've been left alone.
Fighting between Azerbaijan and Armenia has continued for more than a month. The two former Soviet republics agreed on a ceasefire 3 times in October, but each of them fell apart. Nearly 1,300 people have died in what's been the worst fighting in the South Caucasus region in more than 2 decades.